What's up, everybody? Old school with you, Legendary Bloodlines. Welcome back. Let's do some interesting facts about the EverQuest franchise, since there's not a whole lot to talk about in the MMORPG genre. And I figured this would just take a couple of minutes of all of our time, me a little bit more to produce it, you just a little bit to listen, and we'll have some fun with it. So on that note, let's do the 10 interesting facts that I came up with for EverQuest that I don't think that you've heard about before. Alright, so here we go. EverQuest had its own movie. No, it didn't, because it got canceled in 2001. But we almost had an EverQuest movie. Sony Pictures planned a live-action EverQuest movie around 2000, and it got scrapped because of budget concerns. So there you go. I don't know, did you ever know that EverQuest almost had its own movie like World of Warcraft? Probably not. And number 2, does EverQuest have any world records? Pretty good question. The answer is it has one. And the fact is that it holds the record for most belated video game ban. Yes, that's a real thing. In 1999, EQ was released, but in 2008, in January, Brazil decided to ban the game, and because of that staggering ban there, that 9-year ban, it did get the record for most belated video game ban ever. So that's the only world record as of February 16th, 2024 that EverQuest holds. That's the fact right there. So here we go. Did you know that in the code of EverQuest, in the back end of it, they made the words, "We made something cool." And by they, I mean the developers, the original ones. So yeah, in the back end of the EverQuest code, there's actually a secret message that says, "We made something cool." Pretty interesting fact there. One I didn't know, by the way. And in 2001, EverQuest had a sword sell on eBay for 2,000 real bucks, and that literally caused the US Congress to hold a bunch of hearings on the potential economic impact of virtual goods. So yeah, I mean, in 2001, you've got EverQuest, an in-game item selling for real money, 2,000 bucks. It hits the radar of Congress. Boom, we got some hearings on virtual goods and the economic impact of them. So number 5, and this is going to be, again, with Congress, but now we've got the Library of Congress. They recognize EverQuest in 2007 as such a culturally significant piece of work that they preserved the code and all the assets for future generations. And that made this video game, EverQuest, one of the first considered ever to be worthy of historical preservation. And again, pretty interesting fact. I didn't know that until I did all this research. So here's number 6. And everyone knows that EverQuest has all those languages, right? But here you go. It was originally designed with 6 fully distinct, complete languages. And they were designed by professional linguists, including a dude named Mark Rosenfelder, who was actually the guy that invented the Klingon language for Star Trek. So yeah, there you go. And you're probably wondering, what were the 6 original distinct languages? And they were Dwarvish, Erudite, Dark Elvish, High Freeport, Common Language, and Elvish. So there you go. Yeah, pretty interesting. Number 7, how many mobs, bosses, and NPCs in total are in EverQuest? Well, in total as of today, February 2016th, 2024, there are 13,000 total creatures in the game. And I had to do a little bit of digging for that, and the number might be off a little bit, but yeah, it's literally just around 13,000, give or take, a couple of hundred only. And here you go, number 8. How did the name EverQuest get the name EverQuest? So if you go down this rabbit hole, you won't really find a specific answer. You can't pinpoint the exact time and date that they named it, but it was named early in the development phase, and it was named by Brad McQuaid, Steve Clover, and Bill Trost, the 3 lead designers, and Brad was the main head lead designer of the game. And they chose it specifically to give some sort of adventure, a boundless adventure, like never-ending adventure. That was the words that they used. And I think they conveyed a good job with the name. So yeah, there's an interesting fact. We don't really know where the name came from, but that's the information that we have. And number 9 is going to be, what do you think a sealed and graded original EverQuest game from 1999 is worth? Now, I deal with collectibles and stuff. I've got cards and all this other stuff, coins. But I did a little bit of digging. I went into my eBay. I went on sold and current. I looked up to see what we had there. And just for the record, an original EverQuest collector's edition supposedly sold for around $4,000 at one point. But I couldn't really trace down that sale, so I can't confirm anything. But the one that I did find currently on eBay is selling for $3,000, and that's graded at a 75, and it's literally the only one like that on anywhere, including, any sort of search online. So if you do a shop on Google. But yeah, there you go. So $3,000 is about what you're going to pay right now for an original one in a cartridge that's graded. And if you had one that was, mint condition and probably graded almost close to perfect, I'm guessing that it would sell for about 10 grand. So yeah, the fact is that we have one listed, and that's what the current market price is going for. So we'll wrap it up with number 10, and this is kind of like I'll get a little bit of extra digging on this one. And if you stuck with me this long, I appreciate it. Thank you. I tried to do them as quick as possible. Getting 10 interesting facts together for you was kind of difficult because most of the facts that you come up with are, all stuff that's been regurgitated 1,000 times. So I try to do a little bit of extra research and come up with stuff that you haven't heard of before. I'm sure you've heard of a couple of these things, but potentially I got you on a couple of them. So here's number 10. How did EverQuest originally become EverQuest? And by that, I mean races and classes and general game mechanics. So this came from Brad McQuaid. And rest in peace, Brad. Such a tragedy. And, I wish for the best with the Pantheon MMORPG, but there's a lot of weird stuff that's happened since he passed, and the project has just, kind of, I don't know. I wish it almost went with him because it's not him, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about Pantheon right now. We're going to talk about number 10, and that's why Brad McQuaid was so important to the design of the game. And here's the fact about the matter. EverQuest's design was literally a culmination of Brad McQuaid's experience in mud games. And he specifically liked one game called Sojourn, and however you pronounce it. And that was the game that he spent most of his time in. That game did have classes, by the way, just like Dungeons and Dragons, and that's the next thing. He played a lot of tabletop RPGs. So, Dungeons and Dragons specifically contributed a lot to EverQuest. He also played a couple of niche games, and he had like a personal idea for the game. He wanted it to be just like, exploration it had a grand feel of adventure. It was visually stunning, and he was very, very focused on lore. And he was behind a lot of the lore-driven content in EverQuest. And so, yeah, that's the fact right there. How did we get the vision from EverQuest? The fact is it came from Brad McQuaid and his experiences throughout all of these things. Playing mods, tabletop RPGs, the little other games that he played, and just his own dream of what the game should be. So thank you for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's a wrap, folks. Until I talk to you next time, have a good one.